and we are live here to chat about tonight's episode of Arrow, which is entitled Brothers and Sisters, and was, unsurprisingly, about brothers and sisters. I, as always, am recording this right after the episode aired, so this is live. There are spoilers. I usually don't give that as a preface, but it's been a couple weeks since Arrow has been on air, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a heads up. As everyone is joining, usually what we do is start off with rating tonight's episode on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being you didn't like anything about it, it's terrible, and 5 being it was a flawless, perfect episode. I would give tonight's episode maybe like a 3.7. So I thought it was pretty good, but it was coming off of a really good episode, or a really good ending, I guess, prior to this. And then it was, it's going into the end of a hiatus, or like a 2-week hiatus, 2 or 3 week hiatus. So, you have a bit of a slow start, and there was some conflict leading up to it. So I think they were in kind of a tough situation coming back from hiatus, but I really enjoyed some of the subplots. I thought that it was fun to see Oliver and Felicity expecting at the same time we see William and Maya finding each other in the future. Some of the future bits I feel like I could really go either way on as to whether they're really maximizing the opportunities they have to do really fun, cool things with it. And right now it's like a lot of interpersonal conflict, but I thought the villains were pretty interesting tonight. Stormy says Diaz is charbroiled. Please let him be dead. Strongly agree. I'm so done with Diaz. Lindsay Jean says 3.3 out of 5 for me. Bruna says 4 out of 5 for me. Okay, so we're around something of a similar rating. I'm really curious to hear what you guys found to be your favorite moment in tonight's episode. So what was your favorite scene or your favorite line or anything like that? I'm not usually a fan of pregnancies on shows. I mean, it could go either way, but I'm not a huge fan. But I think that they're off to a great start with this one. And the Queen family is so critical at this point to the story, and the Queen family is down to not too many members left, that it makes sense that they're going to add more. And it's sort of a natural step in Oliver and Felicity's relationship. So I was happy to see that at least so far, I don't want to jump the gun because we've only seen 1 episode, they seem to be doing it quite well. And at the same point, it's a little late in the game this season to be upping our villain game, but I think we are upping our villain game. Stormy says 4 out of 5. Kate Johnson says 4 out of 5. Okay, these are good ratings. These are good. Now, I will say last episode, we had several 5 out of 5s. I think we had mostly 5 out of 5, so it's still down from last episode, but it's still high. Stormy said, loved all of the Olicity, future Queen siblings, and OTA scenes. Yeah, those were the 3 best parts. And I not to be a broken record, but they really were. I even appreciated seeing Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity back together, kind of working together again without having resolved yet the fact that Diggle was sort of a not Diggle there for a while, and is betraying them and trying to work with the whole situation. That was unresolved, but I was okay with them at least being on the same page and talking to each other. And I think that that's to be expected, that they are close enough and mature enough to be able to get back together and talk without necessarily having resolved all of their issues yet. So I was okay with that. Lindsay Jean says, strangely, the Black Siren and Felicity scene. Oliver has been a little flat for me since coming out of prison. I agree on both points. I was absolutely going to pick the multiple Black Siren and Felicity scenes. And I know that so many of us, myself included, were strongly rooting against Black Siren redemption. We know that from a plot perspective, her main value is as a villain. I love villains, so it's not even, this is no shade. I just, I feel like she would be underutilized if redeemed, and they really seem to be going the redemption route. And I still am kind of side-eyeing this whole, well, I want to be a prosecutor, whatever sort of thing. And I'm like, oh, girl, you're on your way to die all over again. But she's an opportunity for them to write sort of snarky, fun writing, and that kind of writing plays off so well against Felicity, who's also kind of snarky and fun, but in a very different, very unique way, not like in a classic like a snark banter. It's more like a kind of silly, like, oh, I ate this much chocolate since before I was pregnant, sort of way. Like that was just such a fun scene and a fun line, and you know, mad props to all involved, especially mad props to Felicity. I think that Emily Bett had some difficult scenes tonight, like underratedly difficult, not or underappreciatedly difficult, subtly difficult. That's the word I'm looking for. She had some subtly difficult scenes to work with tonight. It wasn't like crazy strong emotional bits. It was that there were some sort of the hiding the pregnancy, but caring about the family. Well, the whole, yeah, it was, she did a great job. Lindsay said she also enjoyed the flash forward scenes more. Bruna says, of course, my favorite part was Felicity telling Oliver, but it was so short. It was really cut off. And I know there was a lot to fit in this episode. And I know that Oliver and Felicity are not the big dramatic, like fanfares and tears and oh my God sort of thing over it. You know, that they are going to be like mature, grown up, smile, hug, blah, 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 whatever about it. So that's fine. And I'm fine with the fact that it wasn't like some sort of like near death hand clutching, but also one last thing, you know, like I'm fine. It's fine. But it was cut a little short. I don't need a whole big dramatic scene, but I could have done with like maybe 5 more seconds of them being like happy and whatever, because I don't really get much of a chance to be happy. So when you do get a scene like that, and I mean, how many scenes, knock on wood, are they going to have of the queens being pregnant? You know, probably not that many. I know Oliver has like 1 billion kids with 1 billion people in the comics, but it doesn't really seem like that's the direction that they're going. So you're probably going to have 1, maybe 2 to 3 max under ridiculous circumstances of this show having the Queen family is pregnant reveal. So I feel like they could have maxed out it. I mean, you're more likely to have more weddings on this show than you are to have more babies, all things considered. How many weddings have they had on the show? 3 so far? Like crazy? Oh. Anyways, Stormy says, I like Siren's talk with Felicity. Her fans that hate Felicity probably weren't happy. Yeah, I mean, we could all just get along, I suppose. But I know Siren, Black Siren's fans, you have the ones that want her to be redeemed and then the ones who don't want her to be redeemed. And I think the two don't get along. And then you kind of have people who love or don't, whatever, other characters on either side. So I don't really know. Carrie Johnson says, hey folks, I just finished watching the ep. I dig. Okay, so another positive for this episode. I would say that there's a lot of pretty positive responses to this episode that I'm seeing in the chat. And certainly from what I was seeing, I think on social media, Facebook, the Arrow Squad Facebook page, and then Twitter, I kind of like tweeted a bit, kind of slacking a little bit tonight, but that's because my life's been crazy. Got out like a crisp 2 tweets tonight. I'll be back to never shutting up during the episode next week. I semi-shut up during the episode while watching and also doing it. Anyways, just thought I'd let you know. Lindsay Jean says, excuse me, but made me wonder, where the hell is Diggle? Yeah, what did you guys think of Diggle falling on his sword for Lila? Or offering to? Any thoughts on that? I am really interested in the dynamic of the Diggle family, especially considering some of the reveals that we had in the future flash forward bits. And it definitely seems like they're building a future flash forward OTA sort of situation again, where you have the Queen siblings, you have Diggle, or what are they calling him? Are they calling him Connor Hawk openly in flash forward? You have Diggle's son, and then you have Maya and William. And they're kind of setting up to have this sort of future OTA, which makes sense because the original cast isn't going to be there forever, and they're also getting old and all that sort of stuff. But I'm curious what you guys think about that. They've tried to set up an alternate team on the show before when they had NTA. I don't think it was well received, but that's coming from me who wasn't in the camp that received it well. I don't really know what percentage really did. But do you think that there's a shot of the future 3 being well received as an alternate team? sound off. Let's see what you guys are thinking. Brian Perez says, me and William talking about Oliver like he's dead. Spoilers for Crisis on Infinite Earth. Yeah, I mean, I think the prevailing theory, and I hope this isn't this isn't technically a spoiler. This is really just like a strong theory that is maybe true. The prevailing theory is that Oliver is going to die in the next crossover. Possibly in a flash forward of some kind, possibly whatever. And the future that we're seeing right now, they've been very clear about the fact that it's a possible future. So even if Oliver were to die, it could be revealed that he, this show brings people back to life. It's a different version of him instead. There's another universe that we suddenly jump into, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying any death on the show would actually stick. The only death that's going to stick is when somebody who is a performer leaves the show or is told to exit. You know what I mean? They can always bring anybody back, but they do seem to be setting up for Oliver to be dead in the future. And when that present progression meets the start of that future, obviously he'll be dead at that point, but we don't know when that is. They could continue like a billion more seasons before they actually get to the point where they're time-wise aligned with this future, even assuming that this future is in the same universe and not here's our timeline and here's our alternate future and Oliver died here, but in this timeline Oliver's lived till here. You know what I'm saying? Because in the future timeline they've already said that Oliver and Felicity ditched William, and we know that is true. Stormy says Diggle really showed up for Lila and Felicity this episode. He absolutely did. It was nice to see. Again, they really haven't had like a talk about what all went down with Diggle and Felicity and whatever prior to this, but it was nice to see him come around. Lindsay Jean clarifies that they are calling Diggle's son Connor. Good to know. Okay, so like Connor Hawk. Stormy says, I think Oliver will die, but someone better fix it like Barry Allen because he owes us. I mean, Barry's got to be useful in some way. And he hasn't been, I was going to say he hasn't been lately, but he hasn't been useful in a while. Barry has off and on moments of being useful. I'll give him that. He's just rarely useful and interesting at the same time. And I have a low tolerance for his particular brand of uselessness sometimes. Carrie says, did you all talk about how or why William got blocked from seeing Oliver and Felicity again, especially after Oliver clearly tried to reach him? I'm guessing that cassette will provide answers. I suspect that either, A, he wasn't being truthful when he was talking to Roy on the island about how long it's been, or like the fact that his parents abandoned him, that they didn't really abandon him. There was something more going on, or he was just uninformed. Two, it's a possible future and it doesn't necessarily align with present day events, which is why it didn't seem to align with what we saw, where Oliver and Felicity wanted him and he was the one that chose to leave, right? Or he's referencing his parents leaving him at X point and we just haven't got to X point yet. Those are my three possible theories. I think maybe my favorite one is where it's just an alternate future that doesn't align with the present day. Maybe. Stormy says the grandparents had to have blocked Oliver and Felicity's access to William. Yeah, I mean, I suspect they would. That's certainly not a reach. I don't understand, though, why he in that particular situation would have immediately thought that Oliver and Felicity abandoned him. I thought they made that clear, and he is old enough to know better. Just a high lipstick, because I'm getting that like inner rim where it doesn't really cover your inner lips. By the way, if anyone's curious, I'm wearing EZ is the color, EZ by Urban Decay. Kate Johnson says they kind of cleared up the William being abandoned story, so that was helpful. Either his grandparents or a villain is standing between the communication. Loved it. Yeah, but I just still feel like he would have known better. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Clearly, I'm overthinking it. But Kate says she loved it. So there's a lot of love for this episode, which is really good to see. Lindsay wants to know why William didn't reach out to Oliver and Felicity. That's a good question as well. I guess I just have a lot of questions about it. And they may answer it and it may make sense in the story, but until my questions get answered, I'm kind of coming up with alternate theories that would make it make sense. If that makes sense. So Emiko's bad. What do y'all think about that? Or may not be bad, but she's clearly hiding something and maybe working with a bad guy, and she's probably bad. I just want more villainesses on this show, so maybe I'm just ready and willing to jump on the idea of anyone turning traitor on them. Since my hopes were stolen and apparently Black Siren is choosing not to turn on them, Emiko is our last hope. And again, we need more Queen family members, but do we need them all to be good? Because bad guys really run in the Queen family. Like, really run in the Queen family. I don't know if she's really turning on them or if it's like same as what we've always seen, that she just distrusted them all along. Stormy says, so the actor playing Connor just tweeted, the timelines have changed when asked why did Connor say Dig is his adoptive father. Well, that clears that up. There are multiple timelines in this show and in real life. Who knows which timeline you're living in? Who knows which timeline everyone in the show is living in? Good luck. Kate says Emiko being bad is something I didn't know I needed. Lindsay Jean says Amelia. It's cute. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, Kate. I never really considered Emiko being truly bad. I considered her being in a position similar to what I would say like Laurel was in season 1, where she kind of had a grudge against Oliver or was resistant to Oliver, but had every right to be in that position. Emiko perhaps less so because it was really more of a grudge against Oliver's father, whereas Laurel in season 1 had every right to like kill Oliver in a back alley, to be honest. But I thought that that was sort of the stance that we were going to take with Emiko, that she was resistant to Oliver because she didn't trust him, rightfully so, or because she knew of the real or fictional bad things that he had done, right? But her sort of turning traitor on the Queen family, I kind of like that, and I kind of hope they continue to go with it. I think it's really interesting. Lindsay says Emiko is still too much season 1 Oliver for me. Yeah, she's very much like season 1 Oliver. I've said that kind of from the beginning, and I know that there's been a lot of characters they sort of brought on the show who are like past or future versions of Oliver, essentially. So I'm not against there being a essentially female season 1 Oliver, but I suspect they'll have her consider turning traitor on him, and then eventually she'll warm up to him and the rest of the Queen family and not turn traitor on them. I suspect that's where it's going, which is fine. Stormy says, I'm not interested in Emiko, so her being evil doesn't bother me. Now Oliver has a sibling to fight with. Lindsay says, I am liking Renee more though. Yeah, Renee making sense and being moderately likable is a great plot twist. Interesting. Unexpected. I will begrudgingly admit that he is currently not terrible. Carrie says, you know, I'm late to the discussion. You must have said it, but do we think Diaz is really dead? God, I hope so, but you know they're gonna. How many episodes do they have left? This is episode 14. It's gonna go 22, so we got like a crisp 8-ish episodes left. I feel like unless they really have confidence in their new bad guys that they brought in, they may not have Diaz really dead. Kate Johnson says Emiko pulling a reverse Evelyn. Wow, I remember Evelyn. Throwback. Emiko really is like redone Evelyn, isn't she? Huh. Well, we are almost out of time, so this is the part where I usually ask what you guys would like to see going forward, and we're now close enough, ridiculous, to the end of the season to where I can ask, what do you want to see between now and the end of the season? What do you want to see in the next 8 episodes? A bunch of people in the chat saying, OMG, he better be dead. Stormy says he better be dead. Lindsay says he better be. Bruno says he better be. Dante is boring though. Yeah, I've got no horse in this race with Dante. They're trying to do that thing where they keep it a mystery too long in the hopes that you get into the mystery, and I feel like they've really maxed out their opportunities to really play that game. But Dante, I guess, I was much more interested in Stan, to be perfectly honest. What do I want to see? I don't know why I have a headphone in this whole time as if I can hear you guys when I can't. And this is not helping you hear me in literally any way. Why did I have headphones in? Anyways, Dante, not interesting to me. But what do I want to see going forward, the episodes? More building around the Queen family, more high stakes with the Queen family so that we're concerned when the Queen family's in danger. Not that we wouldn't be, but, you know, build around that. Lindsay Jean says she wants to see OTA back in the bunker. No chance of that, though. I mean, there's like a small chance of that. I'm sure by the finale they will be, by necessity, when they all have to come together to fight some greater evil, blah, blah, blah. I do want to see OTA back together, but I want to see them back together the right way, where they resolve the issues that they had, not the way that OTA and NTA kind of got back together, where they didn't really resolve their issues and kind of just agreed to put up with each other, and then they conveniently sent off some members, restarted others, and are still kind of working their way through the others, and we can't figure out which one's which. Sent off Curtis, restarted Renee, and are still kind of working through Dinah. Anyways, Brian says an Olicity baby shower, but I know they wouldn't do it. I mean, I think they would do an Olicity baby shower. I'd love to see them bring in Mama Smoke, plan a baby shower, and have like a villain crash it or something. That'd be such classic Arrow. That'd be so cute. Yeah, I'd be down for that. It's very comic booky too. Comic books would love to have like formal events crashed or celebration events planned and crashed. It's what they do. So always says they want more of Diggs' backstory. Strongly agree. More Olicity happiness about their baby. More movement to Smoke Tech. I already adore William and Mia. Some more of that. Yeah, William and Mia play off each other well. I'm enjoying that. Again, there's room for improvement and exploring certain dynamics where I would like to see them really unpack some of the issues that they have with their family, especially Mia. Seeing William get a grown-up William get a boyfriend, that'd be cute. Lindsay says, can we make Lila a regular and get rid of Dinah? Well, I'm not saying we need to swap one woman for another, because we can have all the women, but I'm super down to make Lila a regular. Carrie Johnson says, let Manchester Black and the Elite come from Supergirl to Arrow and just happen to they've proven to be the most effective, engaging, charismatic villain of the Arrowverse. Yeah, Supergirl does have some good villains sometimes. I've kept up with Supergirl this season. I think I'm like one episode behind or something. And I'm finding their villains more interesting than their heroes a little bit. They've got some hero plots that I'm just like, I'm trying so hard to like it and keep an open mind, but it's like, oh, did you proofread this? Did you though? Anyways, their villains are really interesting. Stormy says, I would love Lila on the show. Yeah, I would love to have more of Lila. The show needs more of her. More of her and other sort of mixed bag women. Not all good, not all bad. Ends justify the means, but it's kind of like Moira was. Kind of like how Felicity can be sometimes. Although Felicity has a really good, strong moral compass, sometimes she is sort of willing to do whatever it takes to, in this case, protect her family or to protect her team in the past, that sort of thing, which I like about her. I think that makes for a really interesting character and avoids them being just sort of like a cliche. Anyways. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for staying a minute overtime. Appreciate all your thoughts. It makes the episode much more interesting to me to come chat about it afterwards and read what you guys think. Lindsay says she kind of wanted Felicity to pull the trigger. Me, always. I love when Felicity kills bad guys. It's the best part of the show. If you guys have any other thoughts or questions or whatever about this episode, you're welcome to put it in the comments below or in my description below. I also have my Twitter. You can find me, chat with me on there anytime. Always down to talk about Arrow. Kind of fun. And Stormy says, Mia being protective of her mom. I just love that. Yeah, same. I want to see more of that dynamic. I want to see them together in the future. I don't really care if Oliver's dead. I kind of care if Oliver's dead. I think it would be really cute to see, like, alive Oliver and Felicity and their grown-up kids in the future. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend I don't care. I think that would be cute. I doubt that will happen. Anyways, thanks for listening to our discussion of Brothers and Sisters, Season 7, Episode 14 of Arrow. I will see you same time, same place next week. I think we're going to try to have a guest on next week. We'll see. Also, if any of you want to guest on here with me in the last, not starting next week, but weeks after that, in the last 7 episodes, DM me on Twitter. Hop on. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.